Hey, how you doing? I am so honored. I tell you, we have been talking, trying to get this young lady. Well, a few things happened, COVID, but we are so glad to have the one and only phenomenal Dr. Tara Jenkins. And we're talking to you about enoughness, the journey of to discovering who you are. How are you doing, young lady?
You, Effie, first of all, thank you for having me on your platform. I'm always honored to talk to you. You know, you were one of the first people I met when I came to Chicago back in the 1900s, as my
Hello?
kids say.
And girl, you were telling me about this guy, you know, who you're gonna marry. I'm like, who? And you said Charles Jenkins. I'm like, who is that? But honey, don't everybody know him now? It's like, wow, it's just amazing. I mean, you're a former First Lady of Fellowship, the historic Fellowship Baptist Church, known as Fellowship Chicago, married to the one and only, as you call him, Mr. Awesome, Charles G. How many Stellar Awards in the background? How many?
9-time Stellar Award winning.
Wow, it's like, how is Mr. Awesome doing?
He is great. I always joke and say he has 7 different jobs going on at the same time. So he's finishing an EP right now as we speak.
I ain't mad at that brother, because I told him, I'm like, do you realize, I mean, everything he touches almost, it's like, I call him the Midas touch. He got the Midas touch. Because, I mean, do you know what we're playing right now? We're playing, okay, He'll Make It All Right. Never Knew Love. This is what we're playing right now. War. What else? Can't Turn Back. He's Been Good, which I know he did for Kenny Lewis.
Kenny Lewis, yeah, it's been so fun to watch.
Awesome. I mean, we're still playing these songs in rotation. Okay.
We are grateful. And you know, it's just a God story because it wasn't planned. And these were songs that we would just sing at fellowship. They would become a part of the culture, the worship culture there. And then, you know, God had bigger plans beyond those walls of the church only. And so we're always excited to see how God uses the music, and he allows us to see other people sing it, translate it, and literally see the songs go around the world.
Isn't that amazing? I know I was looking at him on Instagram or Facebook, and he was so elated that Reverend Al Green was singing Awesome during his church service.
That is my mom's favorite person. So I couldn't wait to show my mom that. That is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. So, okay, have you helped him write any songs? Have you ever done any writing?
I take credit for any writing.
Because you are so talented.
People always ask me, they were like, are you on any of the albums? I was like, yes, doing this. Woo!
Well, I saw you on a couple of videos, I think, tap dancing.
Yeah, I got some cameo appearances. And you can hear my feet tap dancing on War.
Oh, wow. But you are such an amazing young lady. I mean, okay, first of all, do you miss being at Fellowship? Do you miss being the First Lady?
Oh, wow. You know, what we miss is touching people. Okay. And that's been all of us during this time, during this pandemic. Okay. And so when you have 23 years of relationships with people, I do not feel like we have left at all. We are so proud of the leadership of Pastor Reginald Wayne Sharp Jr. And Lady Bree. They have led amazingly through this unforeseen time. But when we find out that people are sick, diagnosed, or if we've lost loved ones, we still feel it. And so we're still very much members of Fellowship, cheering from the sidelines, and still feel very much family and connected.
Wow. Well, I know. I mean, we certainly miss you being in Chicago, because you're way on the other side, on the other side of town, so to speak.
Yeah, we will always feel like Chicago is home, always.
Okay. Well, we certainly love you. I mean, what can you say? You are, hey, you are such a part of the city. So God bless you. But we're talking about, I guess, again, not just Fellowship, but you have to wear so many hats. You are an amazing speaker. We're going to get into your book into a minute, but I was just looking at some of your videos, and I've heard you speak personally at House of Hope and so many other places. Do people really know how good you are? Do you know how good you are? I mean, do you realize how good you are? I mean, I'm pretty sure, I know you have your children and they may be kind of holding you back from getting on the, the international scene in terms of speaking, but I would put you among the top. And I'm not even trying to curry favor or nothing. I'm just telling you, I mean, I love your illustrations. You make it so relatable. You make it so, cultural. I mean, you include everything. And you're a classical pianist or something? What you play, you do all that stuff? I remember when I heard you play at the House of Hope, I thought that was Alicia Keys on the piano. I'm not lying. I thought that was Alicia Keys.
Thank you. I did grow up taking piano lessons, and I did play for a small church when I was in high school that they sung primarily hymns out of the hymn book. But once I got to Chicago and saw Chicago musicians, I began to say, no, I do not play at all.
Well, I mean, you are such an amazing.
Play a few songs from that era of my life.
Well, you do well. So, I mean, in terms of speaking, though, how often are you out there?
I feel like at least once a month I'm traveling somewhere to speak. I'm primarily on stages that are serving women, wives, and girls. And so I love convening events also that are faith lifting. And I think God is just a creative creator who gives us creative ideas. And so I've been so blessed to be invited to places like House of Hope and even at Fellowship where the creativity is welcomed, because in some places it is not. And so I'm grateful to be invited places where I can infuse music and poetry and spoken word and dance and just the ability to be able to do that from the leadership of the places that invite me. I'm so super grateful for that. And I would say that my husband was like my chief cheerleader in that, because I've always done things on stage like oratorical contests and pageants and things like that when I was growing up. And so once I got to Fellowship and I started the women's ministry, and I was asked to speak on a Sunday for Women's Day. And I had this idea of including the Thriller dance in my message about Lazarus. And this is 2009. The Ladies No Pants Please sign had only been removed from the doors of Fellowship for about 8 years. And I definitely needed to wear pants to do the Thriller dance when I spoke. And so my husband was like, do it. That sounds cool. Why not? And he was like, and if anybody wants to stay.
Okay, I see you.
I'm sorry. My phone just started ringing. He was like, if anyone wants to say anything about you doing it, they're not going to be able to, because I'm going to get up there too. He stood behind me. He did the Thriller dance. Princess in Paris were tiny. They were up there. They were doing the Thriller dance and our dance ministry. And that was my intro to a message that I did about Lazarus. And other churches started inviting me to do the same exact.
Somebody trying to get you.
Okay, let me do a do not disturb that I thought I was already on.
Okay. We're talking to Dr. Tara Jenkins, former First Lady of Fellowship Baptist or Fellowship Chicago, telling us about your speaking. Okay, how you first were introduced and Reverend Charles Jenkins helped you out.
Yeah, and then these creative elements, people begin to invite me specifically to do certain creative messages that they had seen me do. And so God just had a plan beyond what a normal speaking can look like. And I think about Acts, and I think about how on that day of Pentecost, everybody heard the gospel in their own language.
Yes.
And so for some people, cultural connections to music, hip hop, R&B, that is their language. And I feel like God uses the way that I deliver messages for others to hear it in their own language.
That's amazing. Now, did Fellowship that day, they received you well?
They did. They stood up and they just joined in, and it was a moment. So from that moment on, I felt completely free to be creative and do whatever idea, God idea that I had for a message.
Well, I gotta ask you this. So that was just always a natural, that type of illustration, and that was natural for you?
Yes, like I joke and say that when I read the Bible, it's like a musical to me.
Okay.
And so it just, the stories come to life. I think of ideas when I'm reading a scripture, and I'll just jot down the idea. And when the opportunity arises, I'm able to execute the idea in the setting. It's so God.
Well, honey, you are so good. God is definitely using you, but I'm like, I just don't know if people know how great of a speaker you are.
Thank you, Effie. I appreciate you. And I thank you for using your platform today to get the word out.
And I mean, again, so you wear a lot of hats. You speak, first lady, well, married to Mr. Awesome, but I always say, besides every great man is a greater woman. So we know who's running things. Hello. Okay. But you're also
a shared calling to ministry, and a big reason why I created a setting for ministry wives, pastors' wives, preachers' wives called Ministry Mates is because there is a shared calling. So sometimes women are thrown in roles alongside their husbands and expected to innately know what no one has ever taught them. And so I love creating settings to equip wives to do what God has called them to do alongside the men they're married to.
And that is so smart, because you're right. So many women, I was talking to a first lady not long ago, and she was just saying some of the challenges first families have, because people think you're superhuman, super Christian, you're Hollywood or whatever. But she said, we're just regular people and we need prayer. And she was just saying how, it took her a while to walk into that. But it's so important that folk pray for them, pray for the pastors and the pastors' wives and pastors' families.
Absolutely.
They don't know. They're learning.
Yeah, we're all on a journey. Imperfect people serving a perfect God.
Amen. Well, you are, let's talk a tad bit about Dr. Tara Jenkins. Are you related to the late Lou Rawls?
No, I am not, but okay, I've heard people say, Uncle Lou. I'm like, no.
Okay, you'll never find.
Right.
Okay, but you're a graduate of Clark Atlanta University, a bachelor's in arts and mass media, Moody Bible Institute in biblical studies, and Southern Gospel Baptist Theological Seminary with a doctor of education and leadership, an earned doctorate, y'all. Okay, earned. Hello, but praise God, it's all good. And again, you also have Ministry Mate, that organization you started, and of course, a beautiful family. I see Princess in college, and oh my God, I can't believe these. Oh, they're just growing up. They're growing up.
They are. Where did the time go?
I know, girl. Again, we remember when you were just telling me how you were gonna marry Charles Jenkins, and I'm like, Charles who? And now look at you now. Wow.
Oh, wow.
But you're also an author. And your book is Enoughness, the journey to discovering who you are. It's been said the 3 most important days in your life is the day you were born, the day you discover why you were born, and the day you began to do what you were born to do. So tell us, how do we find, that how do we even know? Because sometimes, I'll be honest with you, and I know it's sad to say, and I even tell God this, I'm like, God, here I am still asking you, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? You know how we always question ourselves. Yes. How do we know that we're enough? I mean, how do we know when we feel like we're not doing enough?
I think a part of it is us redefining what success looks like beyond what society tells us. And so what is success? Success is doing what God has called you to do in this season of your life. And we know that seasons change. And so this season of your life, what is success? For some mom that's listening, success might be getting all the laundry clean, getting all the dishes done. getting all the kids home safely and their homework done. That's success for her in this season. Success for you in this season could be producing this amazing show, continuing to create content that's relevant to culture, that touches people where they are. And so just being content with what is happening now in this season, what is success for me now, is the prayer to pray. And then knowing that when God calls you to the next season or to the next opportunity, that you are enough to do it now. We're not waiting for some Domino's delivery, for endowment, for your gifts. God already created you with so many gifts inside of you. So when he creates an opportunity that calls on those gifts, to withdraw those gifts for them to be used throughout the earth, how you show up in the world is by saying, I'm enough. I'm enough. Even it doesn't matter how old, how young, if God called you to do it, you got to just say that you're enough to say yes to him.
So how do we get out of that fear? Because like you said, start where you are now. It was so interesting just on the other day, and we miss you on Urban Praise. Y'all know a phenomenal voice. I mean, you got the goods. You got the gifts, girl. But I mean, you've been on Urban Praise. I heard you on another radio station. I'm like, girl. But anyway, just a few days ago, I was just saying, a lot of times we do wait to do something great, but we want to make a wave when all you got to do is just make your ripple. And then when I make a ripple, you make a ripple, they make a ripple, we make a ripple, it's a wave. And then it's another, you know what I'm saying? So, but sometimes we don't want to make that ripple because we feel like it's not enough. So how do we get out of that fear of moving, that fear of walking, on the water or whatever?
So in my book, I go through 6 stages of enoughness.
Okay.
And so through those 6 stages, you trace back, not only tracing your steps, but tracing the sounds that you've heard throughout your life. Okay. And so a lot of the part of dealing with that fear is figuring out, where were those seeds of fearfulness planted in your life? What were the situations that you were in, or the things that you've heard that first made you feel like you weren't enough in a situation? It could be a coach, it could be a teacher, it could be a guidance counselor, it could be a family member, it could be your birth order, it could be your birthplace. But when we trace those steps, trace those sounds of actually figuring out, where did we first feel like we weren't enough? Where did we first hear that? And have we been echoing what people said about us as opposed to echoing what God says about us? It's through that exercise that we're able to take the power away from fear, okay, and actually do courageously, with radical obedience, what God is prompting us to do. Each one of us has an area, at least one of our lives, where we've struggled with our enoughness. And it's based on experiences and what we've heard. And so we have to make sure that through exercises, we can get to the root of what are those feelings of not enoughness, so that we can transition and transform those into operating a life of enoughness.
So that first exercise is to start to think about where you first heard it, or
heard that you weren't enough.
Yeah,
so stage 1 is never enough. And so the book is an interactive experience, because at the end of each one of the stages of enoughness, mm-hmm, there's an exercise for you to write down, like, where did I first not feel like I was enough? And so I tell a story of my own life in the book where I believe I was 6. Okay. And my mom had filed for divorce 7 months pregnant with me. So when I was born, the divorce was final, basically. Okay. And so I'm 6 years old, and I was playing with a little girl, and she said, I'm not from a broken home like you. Oh, wow. Now, I don't know what a broken home is. But right now I'm 46, and I remember that moment.
Okay, wow. And she was 6.
And so, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And so it's through these exercises. Sometimes you have forgotten what you've forgotten, It's through doing these exercises and doing this work that you're able to say, that crazy person did say that to me in that crazy way. And it has always been in the back of my mind, and I didn't realize it.
Right.
And so once you acknowledge it, kind of take the root from it, take the power away from that voice in your life, then I say not only do we trace our steps and trace our sounds, but we do a sound check, which you know what a sound check
Oh,
is.
yes, yes.
And so we check the sounds that are in our lives, and then we need to turn down, mute, unplug the voices that are echoing not enoughness in your life. And then we need to pump up the volume of the voices around us that echo what God says about us.
It's really all about God. Wow, that is so good. Okay, you talk about labels, how we are labeled from day one, even at a baby. Talk about that real quick.
You know, there's a difference between labels and tags. A label is something that people put on you. Your tag is what's attached to you. If I were to show you the tag of this hoodie, it says where it was made, what it's made of, and how to take care of it, the garment. If I have labels, they're things that other people externally saw on me and decided to put on me. But the same way they stuck that label on me, it's my job to peel it off. And so throughout our lives, we can have labels that are put on us. So you were loud as a baby, so you're the bad one, the fussy one. That's a label. You go to kindergarten and you were talking when you weren't supposed to, and you had to stand in the corner. You're the bad child, the one that has to be punished. You were on red light today instead of green light. You didn't get a sticker. That's a label. All those things, as you go through your life, you're continuing to be labeled. You didn't make the volleyball team. You didn't make the basketball team. The guidance counselor said you shouldn't apply to this school. You'll never get in. All of those are labels. And all labels aren't negative. Some people can put good labels on you, and you can be stuck to those as well. The cute one, the fine one, the homecoming queen, and you can be stuck to any of these labels that other people put on you that has nothing to do with the tag God put in you.
Okay.
What you're made of, how you are made, and how to take care of this precious garment God made. Call your inward parts were knit together by him. And before you were even formed, God knew you and created you for a specific purpose. So what is it that you were called and created to do and conquer? And so we have to live according to our tag and not live according to our labels.
Well, I love it. I love it. That tag. And the main one is Jesus. Look, JC. Okay. JC. Okay. I think about the suicide rate. I think about, our young kids. I mean, I was so surprised to find that the third largest suicide rate was among African-American males from, I think, 11 to 21 or something like that. May have those numbers not exactly right, but it was still alarming to me. And then you have the social media piece where people are depressed because I don't have, and I'm gonna be honest, grown folks are too, okay, not just kids.
Absolutely.
I don't have enough likes, or they didn't comment, or they, whatever, I don't have enough views. So I guess in this world of social media and so much is happening, just unprecedented. Would you say this book is not just for adults, but it's for youth as well?
Absolutely. My daughters have it. They've written in it. And they're teenagers. My son is 12. He'll be a teenager on Christmas Day.
I believe it. Happy birthday.
And I think the principles apply. He's in the middle of a basketball tryout right now as we speak. And dealing with what's said to you by a coach, by a teammate, those things can follow you the rest of your life if you don't process them correctly. And so how many adults do we know that aren't completely participating in their life because something that was said to them at the age of childhood? And so we have to make sure that if we are in any children's lives, that we are voices of encouragement and that we are not a cause for therapy. Because so much that's on social media is filled with us being kind of lured into comparisonitis.
Yes.
And comparison is the thief of contentment. And you can get so overwhelmed with other people's lives that you're not living your own. And so we have to make sure that we're also good examples to the kids in our lives of how much time we spend on social media, or how much power we give what a like or a view or that amount says about us, because our worth cannot be contingent upon the opinions of others, because we know the opinions of others can change very quickly.
Nanosecond, in a nanosecond. They love you, they hate you. Look, they follow you, they unlike you. So you are so if you're right, if you're just basing your happiness or your joy or your hope on that, most miserable of all people, most miserable. And that is so true. You know, Jonathan McReynolds has this song, Comparison Kills.
Yeah.
It is a thief. It's a thief of the joy that God wants you to have. We're talking to Dr. Tara Jenkins. Enoughness is her book, the journey to discovering you. Okay, so you're telling us how to identify one of the strategies to beginning to walk into your enoughness is to identify when you first heard that you weren't enough.
Right. So that first stage is never enough. Never enough. Yes. What are the surroundings that society's role played and you not feeling like you are enough? And the next stage is called had enough. And that's when you discover that you've had enough. That's a double meaning. I've had enough of not operating in my enoughness. But had enough is also a past tense statement and declaration that I've already had everything in me that I need to be who I was called and created to be. Sometimes we're waiting, like after I lose the weight, after I get the makeover, after I get the weave, after I get the man, after I get the child. Like we create these after if onlys when this happens. But no, right now, you've had enough. You have already been enough. If God knew you before he created you and he called you before he created you, and there was an ordination before the foundation of the world, there was an ordination before the creation, he ordained you to do something special. You're not waiting on something to happen. You've had enough.
Man, I love it. I love it. That is so, that's deep, man. That is so deep. There's really no way of getting around the word. And just really in order to know this, you have to know who the Lord is. And he has to be real in your life. And you have to know that you're not an afterthought. You have to know, like you said, that it's like, okay, God had a plan and a purpose for you. He had, and he has. So stop waiting. Really, the next step I would think is just to get up.
Yes, the next step is enough is enough. That's that line in the sand where it's no turning back. Can't turn back.
Okay, hello, can't turn back.
Yes. So after you've discovered the never enoughs, what made you feel like you would never be enough? And after you've discovered that you've had enough, then step 3 is enough is enough. That's that point of no return, never going back. I'm not looking back like Lot's wife. I'm going full speed ahead. Yeah. And then my favorite stage in the 6 stages of enoughness is just enough. And just enough is not about bragging about what you have and who you are. It's about really acknowledging your deficiencies and watching God show off with his sufficiency. Because when we look throughout scripture, we see people we would never choose to do anything that God chooses. And God loves to bless you through what you're not. He blesses you through what you're not. And he shows off and shows out in our lives beyond what we think we are. And so you may not have everything you think you need, but God's going to show you and prove that you have just enough to do what he's called and created you to do.
Isn't that amazing? And basically, I always say, when you're with the Lord, you're on the winning team, and you're with the majority. You're really with the majority if you've just only got him. And that's it. Always rules. It always rules. Man, that is just so amazing. I feel like we need to just tell our babies, moms need to tell their babies that in the womb, you know what I'm saying, before they even come out.
Yes.
Like, that's something that's good from the womb to the tomb, because so many people don't know. I mean, we're talking about 60, 70, still feel like they're not enough and feel like, well, because I think I remember talking to somebody, she's right around 70, and she said, well, what can I do? She said, what can I do? I'm like, what do you mean what you can do? Well, you've got so much in you. But so I need you to get this book to everybody. I need everybody. How can they get this book?
At TaraJenkinsOnline.com or on Amazon, or it's even in Spanish on Amazon for your Spanish speaking friends. Right. Yes.
I'm gonna have to get you on some of our Spanish stations at Moody.
Yes. And so it's the journey to discovering who you already are. It's 6 stages of enoughness. Again, it's an interactive experience. At the end of each book, of part of the book, you write and you reflect. So I've had people say, oh, I'm just going to share this book. But then once they look through the fact that they need to write in it, they're like, oh, no, I need my own. Because you want to be able to write fully and freely and not to have somebody else looking. So enoughness, you are enough.
So it's almost kind of like your journal as well. So it's almost like you're finding yourself as you go. I mean, it's very right. It's discovering you are enough. Duh.
I've been excited to see people blessed by it. And I was specifically amazed that I've had several therapists say that they have actually referred this book to their patients for them to help unpack those things that have been holding them back in certain areas of their lives.
That is sweet, man. I love it, Dr. Tara Jenkins. Enoughness. I mean, okay, so what about a book tour? What about a book tour?
Hey, the world is opening up. I'm ready.
Yeah, I just feel like you need to go to every church. This book needs to be in every school library, college library, elementary, community. I mean, it needs to be in church. This is the message.
It is. I believe God wants this message to be in people's hands so that they can interact with it. They can discover who they are and they can show up in the world differently, completely free from those thoughts that had them being held back. Because sometimes we hold ourselves back.
The biggest enemy, who said world war?
The enemy.
Me. World war me.
Yes.
The biggest enemy is me.
Yes.
That's true, because it's that inner chatter that we do. Now tell us real quick about your school or your online class or book.
At Dr. Tara's Classroom, drtarasclassroom.com. You'll see different online classes that we have that are ongoing, that are always there. Dr. Tara's Classroom.com.
And so how can they follow you?
Yes, so on Twitter, Dr. Tara Jenkins, on Instagram, Dr. Tara Jenkins, and on Facebook, it's just Tara Jenkins.
Oh, wow, man, this is an amazing book. Yeah, I think about Dr. Miles, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, who would always say, die empty. Go crave using everything you got. But if we don't really get into our enoughness, we're going to leave a lot of this stuff in us. I mean, a lot of the stuff that God has given us, and I think about and you probably know better because you're the minister and the speaker and the, and the doctorate of in leadership and all that stuff. But about the parable where the guy who hid the talent.
Yes.
And Jesus told him to go, or the man, the ruler, whoever it was, told him to go into outer darkness. And one preacher put it like this. He told him to go to hell. Because you didn't do anything with it. You didn't do anything. I mean, what an insult to God.
Yeah. And when you begin to unpack your why did I not do something? Because somebody said something to me when I was 10, because somebody hurt my feelings in high school, like when we really trace back, the enemy plants all kinds of negative seeds, and we just pray and speak crop failure over every negative seed. that's ever been planted in your life.
I love it. So get up. First, get this book. And Enoughness by Dr. Tara Jenkins. It's just amazing. I believe it'll be a great graduation, Christmas, any kind, birthday gift. This is a book that you bless people with. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You buy and you sow into their lives, and you never know the benefits you're going to reap. It's going to be just beyond the dividends that you could ever imagine. So this is the book.
Thank you, Effie.
No, I'm not even just talking. I'm serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I feel it.
Though.
I feel it.
Because it's so sad that, and I guess I'm talking to myself, because a lot of times we wait. Now, I remember saying one time I did an Instagram or something, Facebook or something. And I remember saying, and this was like earlier this year, I said, you know how we often say, I'm the perfect example, I'm going to wait till I lose weight. And then I said, well, I ain't lost weight yet. So let me just start doing. You know what I'm saying? Because
we all do that. It is not just you. We all do that. Whatever that thing is in our mind, this imaginary finish line, it's like, just do. Get
up the way you are. Trust me. And maybe if I got up, I'll lose the weight.
When you think about that man that was healed, and Jesus said, go. And it says, and he was healed as he went. They were healed as they went. And so sometimes you got to go, not knowing exactly what the process is going to look like. Just take that first step. We're all in this together, Effie. It's not just you.
God has used you as he always does. And again, you're just an amazing, talented, gifted woman of God. Truly, I was just sharing some of your videos with some people I knew. I'm like, do y'all know how good this woman is? She is amazing. And
you're about to be hired as a manager or something.
But you are. Again, you are. It's like I'm like, you could be up there with the Joyce Meyers and really beyond them and Priscilla's and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like
I received it.
It's going to be in a minute. In a minute. As soon as you get out there, you gone. But anyway, right now, y'all, let's get the book, Enoughness, The Journey to Discovering Who You Are, Dr. Tara Jenkins.
Effie, thank you.
And you are awesome. You are awesome.
Thank you, Effie. I thank you for your consistency, always being a light in our lives, always being encouraging. I've known you since 1997.
Oh, wow.
You have always been a light in our lives. So I'm grateful for you.
Well, thank you.
Keep shining.
And thank you for being, doing what you do. And tell the Reverend Doctor we said hello and God bless. And tell your kids and everybody they're so sweet. And, hey, I know we're just going to see big things. And again, the book.
Thank you.
Enoughness, the journey to discovering who you are. Dr. Tara Jenkins, everybody. Yeah, hold it up, girl. Hold it up. Hold it up a little bit closer to the camera. Yes, now that's what I'm talking about. I love it. All right. We're going to get it. We're going to get it, and we're going to walk in it, okay? Thank you so much for taking time with us today. We love you. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And we're going to be enough now and then, okay?
Thank you, Effie.
All right. Love you so much. God bless you, Dr. Jenkins.
Bless you.
Bless you.